Welcome the Lord's chosen. The loudest hater in your life, I might just be battling a silent death. Yeah. Let that sit in your spirit for a second. Chosen ones, listen carefully. One of your most persistent attackers, the one who watches you like a hawk, slanders you with Olympic-level commitment, and throws shade like it's a full-time job, is extremely sick and hiding it like it's classified information. We're talking real-life Jekyll and Hyde. To the world, they're smiling. Behind closed doors, they're unraveling. And the gag is, they think you don't know. Here's the twist that'll make your stomach flip. A 2023 psychological study revealed that chronic emotional suppression can actually lead to physical illness. Yes, your enemies are literally making themselves sick trying to pretend they're not jealous of you. The irony, while they're losing hair, sleep and sanity trying to dim your light, you're glowing effortlessly like you've got solar panels on your soul. So buckle up, because this isn't your average haters gonna hate nonsense. This is deeper, darker, and way more revealing. You're about to find out why your very existence is triggering a meltdown they can't medicate away. Let's get into it. Number one, they attack because you embody the healing they secretly crave but can't access. They attack you not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. You carry something, peace, clarity, purpose, that they don't have, and deep down they know it. Even if they can't put it into words, something about you irritates what's broken in them. It's not jealousy in the shallow, they want your stuff kind of way, it's deeper. You represent the healing they secretly crave but have convinced themselves they can't have, and that burns. You remind them of everything they're not, every wound they've ignored, every truth they've run from. You carry the energy of someone who's been through hell and chose healing instead of bitterness. And that makes you dangerous to someone who's still stuck pretending. Your presence pokes holes in their performance. They can't stand it because they've built their entire identity around being okay when they're not. So instead of looking inward, they lash outward. They mock you, gossip about you, undermine you. It's a coping mechanism. Attacking you gives them a sense of control. For a moment, they feel powerful. But underneath that is fear, the fear that you've figured something out that they haven't, that you've healed in a way they never will. They won't say it, but they study you, watch you, obsess over your every move, not out of admiration, but because they're desperate to understand how you're doing what they can't. They think if they can tear you down, maybe they'll feel better, but they never do. The saddest part, they don't actually hate you. They hate the version of themselves they became when they gave up on growth. You just happened to trigger the mirror. And it's easier to throw stones at the mirror than to face the reflection. So, no, it's not just hate, it's hunger, starvation, a deep spiritual sickness. And every time you level up, they spiral a little more, because you remind them it's possible to heal and they chose not to. Number two, their hatred is a form of worship, corrupted and inverted. What they feel toward you isn't just hate, it's a twisted form of admiration they're too proud to admit. Deep down, they're pulled toward you. They watch you, study you, mimic pieces of you, sometimes even steal from you, your words, your style, your energy. But because they refuse to give you credit or acknowledge your light, that admiration turns dark. It becomes obsession wrapped in bitterness. They can't figure out why they care so much about someone they claim to dislike, but they do. You live in their head rent-free, and that bothers them more than they'll ever say out loud. They attack you, talk about you, compete with you, not because you've hurt them, but because you trigger something raw in them. They feel inferior in your presence, even if you've never made them feel that way directly. That's because they're comparing their performance to your authenticity, and no matter how well they fake it, they can't replicate your soul. They hate that, they resent that, but the kicker is they also crave it. They want your confidence, your peace, your resilience. But they don't want to do the internal work it takes to get there. So instead, they project. They tear you down in hopes that you'll shrink to their level and make them feel bigger. This is what happens when admiration goes sour. When someone sees your light but doesn't know how to honor it, they corrupt it. They twist it into envy, into mockery, into sabotage. They want access to what you have, but without having to evolve. It's a spiritual contradiction they can't solve, so they turn you into the villain. It's easier than admitting they admire you. They may never say it to your face, but their behavior already exposed the truth. They don't hate you. They're magnetized by you. They just can't handle what you represent, and it's eating them alive. Number 3, the sickness isn't just physical, it's spiritual rot that's manifesting in the body. Their sickness isn't just in their body, it's in their spirit, and the body is simply catching up. They're not just physically unwell, they're spiritually exhausted, emotionally toxic and mentally unstable from years of living out of alignment with truth. That kind of internal chaos doesn't stay hidden forever. Eventually it leaks. It shows up in the body, the face, the energy, the way they move and speak. You can see it if you look closely enough. There's a heaviness, a restlessness, a bitterness that clings to them. And no doctor, no prescription, no clean diet is fixing that. They're sick because their soul is choking on lies. Lies they've told themselves, lies they've lived in, lies they've forced others to believe. And when truth is suppressed for too long, it turns into poison. They've ignored the guilt, the shame, the unresolved pain, and now it's surfacing whether they like it or not. It might show up as chronic fatigue, sudden illness, unexplained symptoms, or emotional instability, but underneath all of that is a soul that's been running from healing for too long. They think they're hiding it well, but it's written all over them. They can post the best pictures and smile in public. But energy doesn't lie. There's something off. They know it. That's why they hate being around you. You don't even have to say a word. Your presence brings everything they've buried to the surface. Your peace convicts them. Your healing exposes their disease, and that exposure feels like a threat. The truth is, they've been unwell for a long time, not just in the body, but in the mind and spirit. They refused to confront it when it was emotional, so now it's physical. Their body is screaming what their heart's been whispering for years. But instead of facing it, they lash out, because it's easier to attack someone glowing than admit your own light went out years ago. Number 4, the mask they wear is so fragile, you're the only one who sees through it. To everyone else, they seem polished, put together, even charming. They know exactly how to play the part. They smile at the right times, say the right words, perform goodness like it's theater, and people fall for it, because the mask is carefully designed to fool the masses. But you don't buy it. Not because you're trying to expose them, but because your spirit just knows. You see through the surface, and that terrifies them. You don't need proof. You don't need receipts. You just feel when something is off. There's a disconnect between what they say and what they radiate, between their actions and their energy. You catch the little slips, the double meanings, the way their compliments sting, the way their presence feels draining. You notice what others miss, and that ability makes you dangerous to them. You are a threat to the version of themselves they're desperately trying to sell to the world. You disrupt the illusion they've spent years perfecting. When you walk into the room, they feel naked, exposed, vulnerable. And because they can't silence your intuition, they try to silence you. They attack your character, question your motives, make you look like the unstable one, all to protect their mask. Because if people start believing you, the whole act crumbles. The problem is your presence alone is a spotlight. You don't even have to say anything. Just being who you are disrupts their performance. And that's why they hate you. Not because you've wronged them, but because you see them. And they can't handle being seen without their costume on. It's not that they're fooled by their own mask. It's that they need everyone else to be. You're the exception. You see the crack, the shadow, the lie. And for someone who's built their whole identity on appearance, that is the most dangerous kind of truth. Number 5, they're not hiding their sickness from you. They're hiding it from themselves. They're not really trying to fool you. Deep down, they know you see through them. What they're actually doing is running from themselves. They've built a reality out of denial, brick by brick, lie by lie. Facing the truth would mean tearing it all down, and that's a level of honesty they're not ready for. So they lie, not just to others, but to themselves. Every day they convince themselves they're fine, that you're the problem, that they're healthy, that they're in control. But that illusion is barely holding together. Denial is their comfort zone. It's their security blanket. They need it because the truth, the real raw truth, would wreck the identity they've built. Accepting how broken they actually are would mean accepting all the decisions, betrayals, self-abandonments, and suppressed pain that led them here. And most people would rather rot in a lie than bleed through healing. So instead of dealing with their sickness, they dress it up. They call it stress. They call it haters. They spiritualize it, intellectualize it, blame everyone but themselves. You threaten that entire system because you're walking proof that truth doesn't kill you, it frees you. You've done the work, you've faced your demons, you've owned your flaws and come out stronger. And that kind of self-awareness is a mirror they can't stand to look into, so they attack. Not because you're wrong, but because they need you to be. If you're right, it means everything they've avoided, denied, and buried is real, and that thought alone could make their whole mind unravel. Their attacks are desperate attempts to keep the lie alive, to reinforce the fake reality where they're not the problem, but it's not working. You see it, the cracks, the dysfunction, the sickness. You see them slipping and they know it. And no matter how much they deny it, some part of them is scared that you're not the one who's crazy. They are. Number 6. The sickness is the symptom. The root is a deep self-betrayal they never recovered from. Their sickness didn't start in the body. It started the moment they betrayed themselves, the day they said yes when their soul screamed no, the moment they silenced their truth just to be accepted, loved, or survive. That kind of self-abandonment doesn't go away. It buries itself deep and starts eating away at you from the inside out. What you see now, the bitterness, the toxicity, the physical illness, the emotional instability, those are just symptoms. The root is much deeper. It's the quiet agony of living a life that doesn't match who you really are. They made a decision back then to protect the image, the relationship, the status, the comfort. But in doing that, they abandoned their authenticity, and they never came back for it. They kept building on top of that lie. Years passed. Layers of ego, denial, fear, and pride stacked higher. Now, they don't even recognize the real version of themselves anymore. And that loss has turned into sickness. Their body is telling the truth their mouth won't. The anxiety, the fatigue, the tension, the breakdowns, they're all alarms from a soul that's suffocating under falsehood. You can only suppress the truth for so long before the body takes the hit. And they've been suppressing for years, maybe decades. And when you, a chosen one, come into the picture, someone who didn't choose the fake life, someone who did face the pain and came out real, you trigger what they've buried. They see your wholeness, and it feels like a spotlight on their fracture. They can't handle it, so they lash out. They criticize, mock, and attack, not because you've wronged them, but because you represent the road they didn't take. And their body is now paying the price for that decision. That's the truth. The sickness is just the body saying, we've carried this lie long enough. Number 7. Your purpose activated their breakdown. That's not your fault. That's divine precision. You didn't break them. They were already breaking. Your presence just sped up the process. The moment you stepped into your purpose, into your healing, into your power, something in them started to unravel. Not because you did anything to them, but because your elevation made it impossible for them to hide from the truth any longer. You became a mirror they couldn't avoid. And when someone's entire identity is built on denial, that mirror feels like violence. They needed things to stay unbalanced. They needed you to play small, to dim yourself, to stay wounded, because as long as you were broken, they could feel comfortable in their own dysfunction. But the second you stopped bleeding for their comfort, the game changed. You started rising, healing, glowing differently, speaking truth without fear. And that triggered the breakdown they'd been postponing for years. They didn't expect you to break the cycle. They thought you'd stay stuck, angry, quiet, or confused. But instead, you transformed, and every step you took toward your purpose made their inner house of cards shake. That's not ego. That's spiritual cause and effect. When light shows up, darkness has to move. When truth walks in, lies start suffocating. You didn't come to destroy them. You came to evolve. But their survival depends on the illusion, and your growth threatened to kill that illusion. Now their body is reacting, their mind is cracking, their emotional state is volatile. That's what happens when someone resists the shift for too long. You didn't cause it, you exposed it. Your healing revealed their imbalance, your elevation exposed their stagnation, and the weight of pretending is finally crushing them. It's not your fault, it's divine timing. Purpose has a way of shaking everything that's false. And some people would rather break down than break open. Number 8, they secretly think you know. That's why they stare so hard, watch so close, and react so violently. They won't say it, but deep down, they're convinced you know. You know what they've done, you know what they're hiding, you know what they're battling. It eats at them. The idea that their carefully hidden mess isn't hidden at all when you're around. They feel seen in a way they can't control, and that terrifies them, so they obsess. They stare too long, watch too closely, monitor your every move. Not out of admiration, but out of fear. Fear that you might speak what they're trying to keep buried. They study you like a threat, because in their mind, you're the one person who could expose them without ever saying a word. You don't need evidence. You don't need a confession. You just know. And that makes them panic. That panic turns into overreaction, passive aggression, sudden mood swings, cold shoulders, random outbursts. It's not about what you said or did. It's about the pressure they feel just being around you. You trigger their paranoia. You make them feel naked. They don't just feel vulnerable. They feel powerless. And someone who feels powerless will often choose one of two paths, humility or hostility. They've chosen hostility. They'd rather attack you, discredit you, twist the story, flip the script, anything to shift attention off of their own unraveling. Because being seen by you feels more threatening than being sick. Their violent reactions, their spiteful words, the fake smiles followed by sharp jabs, it's all defense. You're not the one hurting them. You're the one who could reveal what's already hurting inside of them. And they'd rather destroy that mirror than admit what it reflects. That's why they treat you like a threat, because your intuition sees too much. And they can't control what you'll do with that vision. Even in silence, you make them feel exposed. And in their world, exposure is the ultimate danger. Number 9, their greatest fear is that you're not afraid of their power because you know it's hollow. They walk around like they hold some kind of power over you, like their words, their status, their manipulation still mean something. But the truth is, their power only works on people who haven't seen what you've seen, and that's not you. You've walked through real darkness. You've been face to face with your own pain, your own demons, and you came out stronger. That changes you. It rewires how you respond to fear. So when they try to intimidate you, guilt trip you, or make you shrink, it doesn't land, because you already survived worse. They hate that. They can feel it in how you move, the calm in your voice, the way you don't flinch when they try to provoke you. You're not playing the game anymore, and they know it. That's what scares them, because once someone sees the bluff behind fear-based power, the control is gone. Their tactics don't work on you. The shame they try to throw doesn't stick. The silent treatments, the gossip, the fake superiority, it all falls flat when you're not afraid of losing their approval. You've seen the hollowness behind their mask. You know the bravado is covering deep insecurity. You've picked up on the way they overcompensate, the way they need attention to feel valuable, the way they crumble when they're not in control. So no, you're not scared of them, you pity them. And that is their biggest fear. Because as long as they believed you were intimidated, they felt powerful. But when you stepped out of that illusion, when you realized they don't hold any real authority over your peace, your identity, or your path, the game ended. And now they're left with nothing but the echo of the control they used to have. That silence, that confidence, that freedom you carry, that's the proof that their power over you was never real. And now they know it too. Number 10, they're dying for control because internally they've lost all of it. They don't actually want control over you. They want control over something because inside everything is slipping. Their thoughts are loud. Their emotions are wild. Their body is acting out in ways they can't manage. They feel like they're unraveling from the inside, but instead of slowing down and facing it, they speed up and try to control whatever's outside of them. That's why they pick fights, manipulate situations, twist conversations, and play games. It's not about power, it's about survival. They're desperate to feel in charge of something, even if it means causing chaos just to feel like they're not drowning. The sickness they carry, emotional, spiritual, maybe even physical, is the result of long-term disorder. They haven't felt safe in their own skin for a long time. So when you come around with your calm energy, your self-control, your clarity, they lose it. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your peace reminds them of how far gone they are. They see you handling life with grace, and it feels like a personal insult. Not because you're trying to outshine them, but because your stillness is something they can't buy, fake or steal. It's earned. It's real. And they don't know how to get it. That kind of peace exposes their panic. It exposes their need to dominate as a cover for deep internal chaos. They're not leading, they're flailing. And their aggression, their control tactics, their constant need to be on top is the last thread they're clinging to before everything collapses. They don't want healing. Healing would require surrender, honesty, and letting go of the illusion. They want control, because control gives them the illusion of safety. But it's slipping, fast. And you're a reminder of what actual inner strength looks like. You're not shaken, not baited, not bending. That kind of unbothered energy makes them feel exposed, so they tighten their grip. But the tighter they hold on, the more obvious it becomes they've already lost the thing they're trying to fake. Control. Number 11, they would rather die sick than heal with you watching. They know they're not well. They feel it in their body, in their mind, in the way life keeps slipping through their fingers, but still they won't heal. Not because they can't, not because they don't know how, but because you're watching, and the thought of humbling themselves where you can see it. That's worse than the sickness. Their pride won't allow it. To let you witness their surrender would mean admitting you were right. Not just about them, but about yourself. That you were never the enemy, never the problem, never the one they needed to break. That your strength wasn't arrogance, it was survival. That your discernment wasn't delusion, it was divine. And that's a truth they don't want to live with, so instead they double down on the performance. They play strong. They act like they're fine, all while rotting behind the scenes. They'd rather keep coughing up denial than be seen crawling toward freedom. It's not even about healing anymore. It's about winning. And in their mind, healing in front of you looks like losing. Because for someone ruled by ego, submission to truth feels like death. But the irony is, they are dying, not just in the body, but in the soul. The more they fight surrender, the more they break down. Life keeps pressing them. The pressure keeps rising, but they still won't crack in front of you. Your eyes, your presence, your calm knowing, it all feels like judgment, even when you've offered nothing but silence. Pride is a vicious master. It will let them burn before it lets them bow. They think keeping you from seeing their brokenness is strength, but it's not strength. It's fear. It's the fear that if they let go of the image, there's nothing real underneath. But the truth is, healing could have saved them. It still could, but they want the win more than the freedom, so they'll bleed quietly, collapse privately, and die on the hill of I'm fine. Because in their world, ego lives first, even if they don't. Number 12, you're the mirror they can't shatter, so they try to shatter you instead. They don't really hate you. They hate what you reflect back to them, the truth they've spent years trying to run from. You didn't do anything except stand in your authenticity. You didn't raise your voice, you didn't strike first, you didn't tear them down. All you did was exist in clarity. But for someone who's built their life on lies, clarity feels like a threat. You became a mirror, and not the flattering kind. You showed them just by being you what they are not. They saw your strength and were reminded of their weakness. They saw your peace and felt their chaos. They saw your healing and felt their wounds. And instead of being inspired, they were enraged, because some people would rather destroy the truth than face it. That's when the attacks started. The subtle jabs, the sudden disrespect, the smear campaigns, the fake narratives. It wasn't about justice or honesty. It was about survival. They were trying to break the mirror. But here's what they didn't realize. You're not a reflection they can just wipe away. You're not a version of them they can erase. You're real. And your realness is what exposes their performance. So they come for your image, your name, your reputation, hoping if they throw enough dirt, the mirror will crack. But it never does. Because their attacks aren't rooted in power, they're rooted in fear. They think if they break you, they can go back to pretending. But every time you rise, every time you stay silent instead of reacting, every time you glow instead of shrinking, the mirror gets clearer. And it eats at them. Because the truth about who they are, what they've become, and what they've avoided is standing right in front of them. You don't have to say a word. Your presence says it all. They can't destroy you. They can't shatter what's solid. So they'll keep swinging, hoping something breaks. But the only thing breaking is them. Number 13, their attacks are an attempt to transfer the disease. When they come for you, it's not just about making you hurt. It's about trying to change you, twist you, infect you. Because deep down they know their own sickness has taken over every part of them, and if they can't kill your light, they'll settle for dimming it. That's the real strategy behind the attacks. It's spiritual transference, emotional contamination. They're not just lashing out, they're offloading what they can't carry anymore. Their soul is heavy, their thoughts are poisoned, their energy is chaotic, and when they see you walking in clarity, love and strength, it's unbearable. Your light feels like judgment, even when you're silent. So they try to bring you down into their level, not because they truly believe you deserve it, but because misery needs company, and light makes darkness feel exposed. So they throw their rage on you, hoping you'll mirror it. They accuse you of things you haven't done, hoping you'll second-guess yourself. They try to bait you into acting out of character, hoping you'll step off your path just long enough for them to say, "See, you're no better." They want to mark you with their wound. It's spiritual warfare at its root, not with demons in red capes, but with conversations that leave you drained, passive-aggressive messages that disturb your peace, and false narratives designed to make you defend yourself over and over. That's the transference. They hope that if they can inject enough doubt, fear, shame, or anger into you, you'll start leaking too. Then they won't feel so alone in their sickness. Then they can feel justified. But when you stay grounded, when you protect your peace, when you keep your light, it drives them wild, because you've refused the infection. And that refusal, that sacred boundary, that's healing on a level they don't understand. You didn't just reject their attacks, you refused to carry what never belonged to you. And that's what makes you dangerous in the best way, untouchable, because where they tried to spread decay, you chose to remain whole. Number 14. Your protection isn't just divine, it's anatomical. Your nervous system no longer responds to their frequency. Their attacks used to rattle you. Every harsh word, every manipulation, every sly jab would send your heart racing and your mind spinning, but not anymore. You've evolved past that. Your nervous system, the very biology that once made you react out of fear or pain, has been rewired. It no longer responds to their toxic frequency. Where they operate out of panic and survival, you now operate out of calm and clarity. This isn't just spiritual talk, it's science. When your nervous system is regulated, your body recognizes safety even in the midst of chaos. The fight or flight alarms that once blared at their every move have dimmed. You stay grounded, you observe, you respond with wisdom, not reaction. And that absence of response, it's like a slow poison to them. They can't control you anymore. They can't provoke your fear or insecurity because your body doesn't buy it. They're shouting into a void. That silence drives them insane. They're stuck in survival mode, trying desperately to pull you back into their chaos. But you've moved beyond that primal level. You sense the games, the manipulation, the energy drain, and your body rejects it before your mind even processes the attack. That's power few ever reach. It's a protection so deep it's automatic. You don't have to force it. It's built into your system. This unshakable calm strips their power away. Their attempts to unsettle you fall flat. They lash out harder, but the harder they try, the more obvious their desperation becomes. You see their panic for what it is, a sign that they're losing control, losing influence, losing you. And as their world crumbles under the weight of your peace, one thing is clear. You're no longer their victim. You're no longer their target. You're the unbreakable, and that truth, it's the slow, unstoppable death of their toxic hold. What you're witnessing isn't just someone struggling. It's a collapse born from years of self-betrayal, denial, and fear. Their sickness is not your fault, nor is it something you caused. It's a slow breakdown triggered by your growth, your light, and your refusal to play small. You are the mirror they can't shatter, the presence that exposes their hollow power and unsettles their desperate grasp for control. They lash out, not because you deserve it, but because their internal chaos can no longer be contained. Yet here you stand, unshaken, grounded, protected by a strength that's both spiritual and biological. Your calmness doesn't feed their frenzy, it starves it. Their attacks are nothing but futile attempts to spread a sickness they carry alone, a sickness you've wisely refused to inherit. Remember, their pride will keep them chained, even if it means dying slowly. But your purpose, your clarity and peace are the catalysts for their transformation, whether they accept it or not. You aren't their enemy. You're the unavoidable truth they fear most. And in that truth lies your power. So keep standing firm. Keep reflecting authenticity without apology, because the very thing that threatens their fragile world is the same thing that will set both of you free: honesty, courage, and unwavering light. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button to join our community of truth seekers and warriors walking their purpose boldly. Like this video if it opened your eyes. Drop a comment to share your experiences or thoughts, and share it with someone who needs to hear this hard truth today. Your support not only fuels this journey, but also helps others wake up to the power within them. Stay strong, stay real, and remember, you're never alone in this.